Alright guys, you read the title of this video. We're going back to Panda Express today, and I've already made orange chicken 2 times over on my TikTok, but I've never made Beijing beef, which honestly is one of my favorites from Panda Express. I went to Panda a couple days ago, and honestly the Beijing beef was kind of lacking, which really made me disappointed. I really wanted that Beijing beef, so I figured, you know what? Why not make it myself at home 1,000 times better than Panda Express ever could? Now, whenever you're cutting meat, if you have a wooden cutting board, you want to make sure you always put a plastic cutting board on top of that when you're cutting that meat. You don't want any of that bacteria from the meat getting into the grain of the wood that makes it too hard to clean out. This is some flank steak that I went ahead and cut down the middle one time before cutting against the grain into smaller bite-sized pieces. You're going to get your beef into a bowl and season it generously with salt and plenty of white pepper. Now, white pepper is different from black pepper, but in my opinion, it just adds a slightly different aroma and a little bit more heat than black pepper as well. I personally prefer and recommend the white pepper, but feel free to use just black pepper if you'd like. Once your meat is nice and seasoned, we're going to set that to the side while we prepare our rice. You always want to be sure to rinse off your rice. I typically use a bowl, but all of mine were either in the dishwasher or being used in this recipe, so I ended up going with a colander. I rinse it with cool water while my hand stirs around the rest of the rice. This is 2 cups of rice, so into the rice cooker it goes along with equal parts water. Press the start button and it's as easy as that. We're greeted with some really perfect rice we're ready to use for our Beijing beef. Next thing we're going to work on is our dredge for that beef we seasoned earlier. This is about 2 cups of cornstarch and 2 cups of flour along with a good couple pinches of salt. You don't need to worry about seasoning your flour mixture too heavily here. Anything you add here is going to get drowned out by the super flavorful sauce we're going to make later. Now onto the wet part of our dredge. We're going to go really simple here with just 2 eggs and I'm going to try to open all fancy, but it's not going to work out too well for me. After a nice laugh, be sure to fish out any shells you dropped in there before getting those eggs nice and whisked up. Be sure to add in a nice splash of water to dilute those eggs just a little bit, and now we're ready to coat up our beef. We're going to throw our beef into that egg mixture before going ahead and transferring it into that flour mixture, making sure everything's nice and coated. The big bowl really helps make sure things don't get too crowded, and it gets everything perfectly coated, saving you a lot of time from doing this one by one. Now our sauce is going to start out with half a cup of water, a 1/4 cup of white sugar, you can use brown if you'd like, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm using something called Temari, which is just a darker gluten-free soy sauce that I highly recommend, but use regular soy sauce if you can't find that. 2 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar, and then about 2 tablespoons of both ketchup and sriracha. Now sriracha is the one heat element to our sauce, but of course we're going to be sure to add a little bit more spice in a second. Now most importantly in my opinion is a 1/3 cup of Hoisin Sauce, which makes a really good flavor to this sauce, and I really highly recommend it in here as well. The last thing you need for your sauce is going to be about a tablespoon of whatever chili flakes you like, and that's that last little kick of heat that's going to make this absolutely perfect. Whisk that up till everything's nice and combined and the sugar's dissolved, and we're ready to go on to our vegetables. These are the classic veggies you see in Beijing beef at Panda Express. They really simply use onion and red bell pepper, which is a fantastic combo for something like this. I really enjoyed this. I went ahead and simply cut up my onion, cut off the top and the bottom, cut it in half before cutting it into some 1/2-inch cubes. I only ended up using about half a white onion for this, so I had to use the other half for something else. But I went ahead and moved on to the bell pepper. Now, me personally, how I cut my bell peppers is I cut the top and the bottom off. I place a cut down the side and put my knife into that cut, rolling my knife along the inside of the pepper to separate it from all the seeds in the middle, which gives you a great strip of pepper that we can cut into and cut in a similar size to the onion that we just cut. My favorite part about this method is there's almost no waste, or I take the little stem out of that top and go ahead and chop up the top and the bottom as well. Throw it in there with that bowl with those peppers and onions, and now we're ready to go on to our cornstarch slurry. This is really simple, just 1 part cold water to 1 part cornstarch, and the final thing of prep we need to do is cut up a couple of cloves of garlic to finish up at the end. You're going to go ahead and get this really finely minced up, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm going to use the side of my blade against my cutting board and then run my knife through it again to get a really fine mince. This is going to be perfect to end up our stir fry with. Now at the end of it, we're ready to go over to our stove. This is 375-degree peanut oil that I'm dropping our beef into. These pieces are pretty small, so they'll only take about 1 to 2.5 minutes to fully cook and get nice and crispy. Gonna make sure those don't get stuck together before getting those out of the oil and onto a resting rack. And now we're ready to stir fry. Gonna get those onto a resting rack and onto a really hot pan. You're gonna add just enough neutral oil to cover the bottom of the pan. This is canola oil before adding in our bell pepper and onions. These are going to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes or until they start to soften and ever so slightly brown. And at that point, you're going to dump in all that delicious sauce we made. Right when that's bubbling, you want to add in that cornstarch slurry, saving a little bit of it just in case it doesn't get as thick as you'd like it to be. Once the sauce is nice and thick, it's right where you want it to be. You're going to throw in all of that beef, make sure all of it gets nice and in there. And we're going to go ahead and get it completely coated before adding in that minced garlic at the end. Toss all that really beautiful beef into there. Get that garlic in there. We're ready to get this nice and mixed up. The residual heat's going to carry over, cook that garlic. And just like that, we're ready to serve it up. into a bowl with a little bit of rice. Top it up with that beautiful beef, and hope you enjoy. There you have it, guys. You just made Beijing beef. Now, I know we're on a new platform here. I know we're on YouTube, but you just knew we had to bring this with us, all right? Cheers, everybody. Oh, my God. All right, yeah, I was going to one-take that, but I bit off a little bit too big of a bite. Now, this is really, really good, okay? I don't think it's as good as the orange chicken we made. It kind of reminds me of the General Tso's. I was worried a tablespoon of those chili flakes were going to be a bit too much, but no, it is perfect. The heat is perfect. The veggies are really tender. This is a really, really good one. Just like that, first YouTube video in the book. Thank you guys so much for coming over from TikTok. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's really important. I'd love to hear whatever constructive criticism that you have. Go ahead and drop a comment. Positive, negative, what you like, didn't like. I would love to improve on it. I can't wait to improve this channel with you guys. I can't wait to see where it goes, and really glad you're here. Hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.